from a massive asteroid impact to giant waves. Here are 8 ways the world can end. Before we begin, be sure to subscribe to They Will Kill You. Hit the like button and request any topics you'd like to learn about in the comments section below. Number 8. Asteroid impact. Asteroid impacts have gotten so much of the Hollywood treatment that it's becoming harder to perceive them as a legitimate threat. That being said, they're always within the realm of possibility. For example, there are thousands of ice balls, more than 50 miles in diameter, in the Kuiper Belt. This zone lies just beyond Neptune and has sent a stream of smaller comets towards our planet. It would take a space rock only 5 miles across to cause catastrophic damage on Earth, regardless of where it landed. The impact itself would release more than 1 billion times the energy of the nuclear bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Many would perish in the blast alone. Debris would rise up into the atmosphere and then fall back down, heating the atmosphere until most above-ground creatures would be cooked alive. Lingering particles in the atmosphere would block out the sun for up to a year, causing famine and devastating environmental changes. Before we move on, official They Will Kill You merchandise is now available at theywillkillyou.com. It's out of this world. Number 7. Rise of AI. Another favorite among science fiction scenarios is the end of the world due to the rise of artificial intelligence. There are a number of researchers that argue we're only a few decades from the singularity, the point when AI matches or even surpasses human intelligence. Even technology entrepreneur Elon Musk has expressed concern in this regard. However, a Terminator-like situation with killer robots running amok isn't the most likely one. Nevertheless, since most of our systems are technology dependent, an AI takeover could be worrisome. One common theory is that it will become too good at its job and harm humans as it seeks out ultimate efficiency. This concern is amplified by the perspective of AI-controlled military weaponry. Stanislav Petrov became known in history as the man who single-handedly saved the world. What did he do? Did he A. find a plague vaccine, B. prevent nuclear war, C. discover the impact of global warming, D. plot the fall of the Soviet Union? Let us know what you think in the comments section below and keep watching to find out the right answer. Number 6. Gamma ray burst. Gamma ray bursts, or GBRs, are thought to be released during a massive supernova, or the merger of 2 collapsed neutron stars. They're the brightest electromagnetic events known to occur in the universe and may last from 10 milliseconds to several hours. In just a few seconds, more energy is released than the sun will give out in its entire lifespan. Gamma ray bursts typically occur billions of light years away from Earth. However, there's a GBR candidate just 8,000 light years away, known as a WOLF-RAYET star. It's expected to collapse into a supernova at some point in the next several 100,000 years. When that happens, the explosion might generate a gamma ray burst that could hit the Earth. The potent radiation would instantly cook the ozone layer, leaving us exposed to the full force of the sun's ultraviolet rays. The ensuing effects range from an increase in skin cancer to the death of ocean plankton, responsible for supplying oxygen to the atmosphere. One theory is that the ORDOVICIAN-SILURIAN extinction event was caused by a 10-second GBR. It was released by the collapse of a hypernova within 6,000 light years of Earth. Number 5. Global warming. We've touched upon the potentially devastating effects of global warming in previous videos. Despite a number of climate change deniers, the science community has deemed the evidence behind it to be irrefutable. Moreover, it seems that human activity has been a major driving factor since the 20th century. A number of researchers believe we're approaching the point of no return in matters of global warming and its associated effects. Future devastating events include severe droughts, increased frequency of extreme weather, spreading of disease, the extinction of many plant and animal species, as well as rising sea levels, which may cause low-lying areas to become submerged. With the population unable to cope with these dramatic changes, an increase in armed conflicts across the globe is highly probable. Number 4. Nuclear war. An all-out nuclear conflict was a common fear during the Cold War. However, as long as countries possess nuclear armament, the fear will always be there. Whether these are secret programs in countries like Iran and North Korea or massive stockpiles in Russia and the US, weapons of mass destruction are a very real threat. It's particularly terrifying if these weapons ever get into the wrong hands in an instance of severe political instability. As of 2019, the symbolic Doomsday clock, which has been used to determine how close we are to global destruction, remains at 2 minutes to midnight. The setting was attributed to the dual threat of climate change and nuclear weapons. World War II provided an example of what a nuclear attack looks like, and it's gut-wrenching. It's worth mentioning that since then, nuclear weapons have become much more potent. Aside from unparalleled destruction and radiation, another major effect of global war would be nuclear winter. Thick smoke would rise into the stratosphere where the weather can't disperse it. It would block out the sun, leading to famine and wide-scale human death. Number 3. Pandemic. We've seen it before with the Black Death and the Spanish flu, how a pandemic can decimate populations all over the world. It's not far-fetched to imagine that a supervirus could one day wipe out the human race. Viruses and bacteria evolve alongside humans, and some species have already become resistant to antibiotics. It wouldn't take long for a highly contagious, deadly strain to become uncontainable. What's even scarier is that we might actually end up helping a supervirus burn through the population. Through vaccination, we provide training to our immune system on how to recognize and eliminate pathogens. However, against overwhelming scientific evidence, there are those who choose not to vaccinate. The World Health Organization has identified vaccine hesitancy as one of the top 10 global threats of 2019. Number 2. Volcanism. Some threats come from outside our planet, while others hail from within. Extreme volcanic activity has been theorized as a driving factor behind the Permian-Triassic extinction, the most devastating event of its kind in the planet's history, also known as the Great Death. It caused 95% of the planet's species to become extinct. The eruption of the Siberian traps, which aligns itself with the extinction's timeline, was one of the largest volcanic events to ever occur on Earth. It sent noxious debris and gases into the atmosphere and covered more than 770,000 square miles with lava in a snowballing effect believed to have caused the extinction. Past trends suggest we're long overdue for a supervolcanic eruption. The last one occurred in New Zealand, roughly 26,000 years ago. Even though we can determine an eruption up to a few months in advance, we're essentially powerless to stop it. Massive earthquakes, mega tsunamis, and raging pyroclastic flows are expected when a supervolcanic eruption occurs. So, what did Stanislav Petrov do to save the world? The right answer was B. Prevent nuclear war. In 1983, a Soviet satellite malfunctioned and transmitted that 5 nuclear missiles had been launched by the US. Petrov, who was monitoring the Soviet Nuclear Command Center, went against protocol by treating the transmission as a false alarm. He thus prevented a retaliatory response that would have potentially resulted in global nuclear war. Number 1. mega tsunami. More than 65 million years ago, a giant asteroid impacted the Gulf of Mexico, triggering events that led to the extinction of the non-avian dinosaurs. The CHICXULUB asteroid was roughly 9 miles across and caused all manner of destruction, not the least of which was an enormous tsunami. After the initial impact, a wave almost 1 mile high swept through the Gulf of Mexico, traveling close to 100 miles per hour. In 2019, researchers modeled its effects and how it rippled across all of the planet's ocean basins. In the North Atlantic and South Pacific, waves reached almost 50 feet. A similar event today would be catastrophic for coastal populations all over the world. Mega tsunamis might also be triggered by the melting of the polar ice caps. It can lead to massive landslides of ice sheets or an increase in the frequency of large earthquakes as the Earth's crust adjusts to the removal of the ice weight. These events can generate tremendous, potentially world-ending waves. Thanks for watching. What would be the first thing you'd do if you found out the world was going to end tomorrow? Let us know in the comments section below.